Hi, how's everybody doing? It's May 18th, 2023. Um Couple of updates on what's going on. I was parked in a church parking lot where I thought you were allowed to park, and police officer came and stopped me, and this is in New York State, in Conklin, New York, just near Binghamton. Years ago, I had had some tickets in New York State. I paid the fines, but what I did not know was is there's these assessment fees along with them. And for some strange reason, when they ran my name, it came up an address that I lived at 30 years ago in Edison, New Jersey. They must have sent the assessments there for whatever reason, but when I got these tickets, I had a Pennsylvania driver's license with a Pennsylvania address. Um, so the cop told me that my driving privilege is suspended in New York State. Well, I said to him, I said, listen, I had just worked for UPS as a personal delivery driver in the peak season right before Christmas. They ran an MVR and it came back perfectly fine. Uh, so I said to the cop, which he was real nice, like he didn't give me a hassle or nothing. I explained to him what was going on. He told me that in that unfortunate uh, area, there's been people. He told me people are going in people's yards, um, cars getting broken into, stuff like that. It's sad because most of Conklin it's a nice area. You got two nice schools. There's nice big churches right across the street from each of the schools. Nice neighborhoods, um, but it is too close to Binghamton. So my driving privileges are suspended until I pay these. They're $100 each, and there's three of them, so it's $300 I don't have. Um, and the timing couldn't have been worse because I just got hired for a part-time job at Amazon in Conklin. It doesn't start for another week and a half yet, but at least it's something. It's not, like there's some reason that background check took forever to come back. Luckily, there is a back way to get there, and it's not very far over the New York state line, so it's a chance I'm gonna have to take. I gotta have some kind of income. Um, Means I'm not gonna have another paycheck for 2.5 weeks. I'm not sure if they do that. You can get paid 80% of your pay at the end of your shift. I really hope they do. I'm not in a financial situation to get an apartment or even rent a room right now, but to be able to have some kind of income coming in is great. Kind of stinks too because the nicer parks that I was staying at were up there. Down here in Pennsylvania, unfortunately, the bathrooms are only open in the one park when they have baseball games or football games or some kind of event. The other park in Montrose, the bathrooms are open from the morning till it's dark. Um, but I was hanging around there probably more than I should have because I didn't want to drive and waste gas. And people are starting to look at me funny. My car's dirty. It's old. It seems like whenever you're at your lowest, you notice how well everybody else is doing. You know what I mean? There was a guy down there with a $100,000 Corvette playing basketball, just eyeballing me left and right. He was young, too. He probably couldn't have been 30. Good for him. He's got his life on the ball. I used to. Things fell apart. I was never had that kind of money. I would never spend $100,000 on a car. This morning, I went to a park in New Milford, Pennsylvania, which is right 5-6 blocks from where my daughter lives and about 2 blocks from my old apartment. I got sunburned from hanging those gutters with that guy there last week, so I was wearing my hood up and long sleeve sweatshirt, and I kept getting stared at by the few people that were there. This is what I'm noticing, that maybe I didn't notice it before. Um, People are like glaring at me. It's kind of annoying, but they don't know me. I don't know them, but I don't sit there and glare at them. It's one of the things you get when you live in a small town. Some people get so used to knowing everybody that, but see, I've been in this area for 30 years. I just didn't make it a point to get to know everybody because, to be quite honest, um, up here, at least when I moved up here in the 90s, uh, the quality of people were, at least the ones I was meeting, were pretty low. Not that I'm anything special, that's for sure, especially now. So I, only met a couple people, and to be honest with you, the people that I met and was friends with back then, hardly any of them have progressed in life at all. I mean, I'm talking about from the time I met these people when some of them were just teenagers. I was only 18, 19 years old when I moved up here. Uh, a lot of them are still working stone quarry jobs, which I can't say nothing about because I did it for some 23 years and it ended up making me sick. But they're still doing all the drugs. That's the part I don't understand. Back then, we would smoke weed, drink. They've all progressed into, not all of them, I'm just, probably half of them. I've seen some of the people walking around like zombies because they got into, meth, heroin, popping pills. Um, and it just goes to show that at least back then I was right into not, staying in touch with a lot of those people because a lot of them aren't worth, they're still human beings, but they're not people you'd want around because they'll steal from you. I don't have anything left to steal, but that doesn't stop them from stealing. Things are just, I don't know. It's really hard when you can't stay in one place too long because you kind of feel like somebody's going to call the cops on you. I never felt like that before. As a single man, especially, you hang out in a park, everybody automatically has a thought about you, especially if, like today, when I had my hood up and everything so I wouldn't get more sunburn. My ears and everything were all broke out, peeling and whatnot just yesterday. I didn't want to get that pink skin underneath sunburn too, because if you ever had that done, then you know what I'm talking about. There's not much, like I said before, there's not much for resources. I called a place that supposedly has emergency assistance. I talked to them, gave them my number. They haven't called back. It's been 4 days now. I called Monday. It's now Thursday. So you want to say 3 days? I think I would have heard back by now. And I just read that some of these migrants that are coming for asylum from south of the border are going to get shipped up to Binghamton. Now, right off the bat, I have no problems with people who want to work. They want to escape. People think the gangs in the U.S. are bad. You should see how the gangs are in South America. It's even worse. They chop people up with chainsaws right in the middle of town, and set their body parts all over the place like it's no big deal. It's way past what it is up here with all the shootings. I have no issue with them coming here to get away from that. The only thing is they're trying to contract almost entire hotels to put these people up. So the mayor in Binghamton, I guess, passed some kind of bill stating that none of the local hotels can do business with outside entities trying to house migrants in Binghamton. But yet he had no problem. They had no problem before when they brought all the homeless people up from New York City. This is what but I still feel that housing should be given to U.S. citizens first. I know it sounds like it's a mean thing, but not everybody that you see on the street has failed at subsidized housing before. A lot of us just aren't eligible for it. Like me, for instance, because I made so much money last year, I won't qualify for anything. Um, I just feel that, if you're going to rent out an entire hotel, and you're just going to give it to people that are coming from across the border that we basically know nothing about, uh, I think it's gonna create a problem. I mean, they're trying to revitalize areas in Binghamton. Certain areas they're just letting go. This happens everywhere. It's not just there. But when you're in an area that's basically a third retired, a third on welfare, and a third students. And right now, because the students bring so much money into the area, they were concentrating on the students, which I get. They bring more money into the area than the citizens that live there do. It's a financial thing. But now, how's it going to help? You're going to bring, who many? Probably a couple thousand. If they contacted 2 or 3 hotels and want to rent out at least 40 rooms in each one. So it looks like that's probably well over 1,000 people who probably half don't speak English. Um, Almost all are going to be undocumented. What's that going to do in an area that's already struggling to survive? I don't know. I just know that when America has, what's the estimation, 4 million people homeless or whatever it is, that's a good chunk of, the population. I just think that it's you got to do something about your citizens first before you bring in a bunch more people that we can't take care of. I something's not right. And as the years go on, it just seems to get worse and worse and worse. Like everybody keeps saying, they got to fix something. They got to start taxing the rich. They're rich already, other than the loopholes they have to jump through, and I've seen this time and time again. I mean, years ago, the corporate tax rate used to be like 91%. It was like insane. I just think that the rich should pay the same amount of taxes the rest of us pay, percentage wise. Percentage out of each dollar, everybody should pay the same amount, without the loopholes to jump through. That's where they're skating on. Like if we had all that extra money, you wouldn't see people living on the street. There'd be housing for them. There'd be free education. There'd be free health care. Or national health care. I shouldn't say free. It all comes from tax dollars anyway. But my own personal situation, as it stands right now, this part-time job is going to be able to keep me going. But if I get caught driving in New York State, being as I'm suspended there, and that one cop was really, really nice. Not all cops are bad. He let me go on that one, and I will tell you right now, that is the first time I've ever been let go for anything in my life, which is why I don't believe in that white privilege everybody talks about, because it took 47 years for me to get one thing, a single thing, let go. And that's only because I'm living in my van, and the cop took, if I wasn't living in my van and I had a house and everything, place to live and a job, he obviously would have ticketed me and I would have got arrested. The homeless problem's going to get worse. Mainly because nobody's really doing anything about it. At least from where I'm at. If you're lucky enough, and I say lucky enough, to get your disability or to get welfare or anything like that, you should really feel lucky, and stop blowing all those food stamps as soon as you get them. And I think they need to do something about that. I think that if you don't use them by the end of the month, I think you should lose them. In some states, you're allowed to roll them over. I know some people in Pennsylvania that have thousands of dollars of food stamps. And you'd think that the state would look at that and say, wait a minute, if you're not spending it, you obviously don't need that much. Like my one uncle, he weighs 80 pounds soaking wet. He eats like a bird. He might need $100 every 2 weeks for food, maybe, but he gets $400. He gets double of what he really needs. Um, Something's not right. It's gonna get worse, people, and I really wish that people would stop and think, before you decide to make a judgment about somebody when you see them with that sign up. I still can't bring myself to panhandle for money. I guess when I absolutely run out, maybe, but even then, I don't know. I don't think I could do it. Uh, I try to keep. I have a whole tote full of clean clothes, a big, huge tote full of clean clothes. I keep my laundry detergent and whatnot in the car in case I do have to go wash something real quick. I'm not going to walk around dirty yet. If I can avoid that part, yes, I'm going to avoid that part. But some people can't avoid it. Some people can't help it. For a good portion of people, I'm not going to say half. I'm not going to make a judgment percentage on how many people are out there that just can't do for themselves. And in some areas, like I see, like out in California, on the West Coast, I've seen a lot of stories where they're locking people up for not having an address. And I don't agree with that. I mean, that's now I know some of you are saying, well, it's great for them. They get 3 meals and a place to sleep. And yeah, but you're also taking that person's freedom away just because they don't have an address. I mean, I don't understand. Like, you're just feeding the jail machine. And we all know that jail and prisons are all about money. That's why for a long time there, they were locking people up for the stupidest things. I've seen stories where people have sat in jail over a year for $100 because they don't have anybody to get the $100 from, and because they're not fully sentenced or whatever, they can't even get work inside the jail. Now here's the thing: I just found out recently because I had an interview for a county position at the recycling center that employs inmates from the jail, which is right next door. They're now paying 20 some odd years ago when I had DUIs and I was doing that, we were getting $2 an hour, and they would take half of that for your fines or whatever. So you were basically working for $1 an hour. Now they're giving them $5 an hour, which is great. Some of the guys that are in there for long periods of time, they'll be able to come out with some money. They'll be able to, either get a car or get a place, or, I know it's not the greatest of situations, but at least at, $5. And she even told me that after so many months or whatever, they bump them up to $7 or $8 an hour. That's minimum wage here in PA still. It's still $7.25 or $7.50. So to get that, as you're sitting in jail, you got to pay. They probably charge you rent $5 or $10 a day, but if you're now making $65 a day as a prisoner, you got something to look forward to when you get out. You got something to help you. In a lot of places, they're not doing that. They're still making people work for 25, 50 cents an hour, $1 an hour. And that I don't understand. I mean, I personally think that there's work that state inmates could do to take the burden off taxpayers. I mean, not everybody, even if they're upstate for some horrible crime, they're not all looking to keep committing crimes. They're not all looking to, escape and rape somebody. Some people got hefty sentences upstate because they embezzled some money because their kid was sick. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. They could be fixing the roads. They could be doing some of the farming. There's so many different things, but everybody's too afraid because they don't want to let them out into into the neighborhood. Well, when you got millions of people sitting at the border getting ready to come across and not knowing what they're doing here, other than getting away from the dangers in their homelands, you don't seem to have an issue helping them out. So why not American citizens? Why do you have an issue helping them out? You know, you're not, like, people just need a hand up. You know, everybody keeps saying everybody just wants handouts. Not everybody. Keep that in mind. If anything else happens, I'm closing in on 2 full weeks now. Come Monday will be 2 full weeks homeless. Just keep in mind that homeless doesn't mean a person is worthless.